Well, hello everyone and welcome once again to the Dougie Stone Show. Really great to have you on board. These weeks just keep flying by. Soon be Christmas. Bar humbug from me, bar humbug. Anyway, I really appreciate everyone checking in and checking us out, and it's going really well. I'm really pleased with the feedback I'm getting from people and the guests that are actually saying they want to come on the show. I've got some crackers lined up. I really have. I've been speaking to a couple of people today, and I've definitely got some more interesting people for you to listen to. And I hope it's helping you on your business journey, or if you're dyslexic and you know a bit more about that, that's great. And tonight's show's no exception. Got a great guy for you called Croz Crossley. I'll put all the links in the show notes so you can find out, check him out. But definitely go and check Croz out. He's a mind of knowledge. He never stops. So anyway, without further ado, let's get this show on the road.
Run your own business. Are you sat there, aggressively waiting for the phone to ring? Come on, phone, ring! Ring! You need 4 networking.
Smile, me, chat, join 4 networking.
At every 4 networking meeting, you get 3 real business appointments guaranteed. There are hundreds of 4 networking groups right across the UK. To book a meeting near you, go to 4networking.biz.
Smile, me, chat, join 4 networking.
Right, people, today we're joined by, and I can't believe he's come on my show, Croz Crossley, or as he likes to be called, Uncle Croz. And anyway, I'm not going to spoil it. I'm going to let him talk because that's what he does. I think he calls himself the mind technician. Is that right, Croz?
The mindset technician.
Cool. Anyway, thanks for coming on the show.
You're more than welcome.
I mean, for me, I first was aware of you when you was on the show with Brad Burton, he says he's the UK's #1 speaker. Well, he's on his website, and you was on the you was on the show, weren't you? The Money Pit, which was quite interesting. And since then, things have moved on, and we've seen more and more of you. So yeah. Anyway, tell everyone what you're about and what you're working on.
Well, basically, the quick story with Brad was that I met Brad at the Money Pit show, and I've been in the self-development business for many years. And Brad said he was a motivational speaker. I said, that's funny. I used to do that type of thing, blah, blah, blah. And we just got talking and we become friends. And then all of a sudden he started asking me to sort of do some bits and pieces at Brad Camps, which is his day workshops. And I used to come and do a bit of guest speaking there and what have you. And then he's got me out of the box, and all of a sudden he's got me keynote speaking all over the place. And I'm sort of mentoring a few people now, coaching a few businesses. So yeah, it's quite exciting really, when I thought I'd sort of be having my slippers on and a glass of whiskey and a lovely woolly dressing gown by now. But no, so I'm back at it pretty well, sort of not flat out, because I have to leave time for my golf. My teachings always involve you time. You must have you time.
Yeah.
Make sure that you sort of balance things up. But so I'm enjoying myself.
Yeah, it's good. That's good. I'm sure and that's it's important to enjoy yourself as well as the business. But having met you and having spoke to you and having known what you do, I don't see you the type of guy to have your pipe and slippers just yet. I think there's still a lot going on in there, and you don't stop. You talk to people and it just comes out all the time. This enthusiasm for doing the right thing and the way your mind is. I think it's phenomenal.
Well, I'm very fortunate, Kirk, in as much as a lot of my experience comes through making mistakes, which is the best way to learn.
Yeah.
And therefore I can identify with most situations in business. And I'm fortunate to have a very, very quick mind where I can look at a situation and just turn it into the advantage of the person. I mean, this morning I was talking to a coach, and she's having trouble getting clients, and she's a karate fourth dan.
Wow.
Well, and I said, and she said, oh, karate had helped her do this, that, and the other. So I've linked the two things together now. So she's now going to just do self-development for people that do karate, because just because you're good at karate doesn't mean that you're good at life. So she's now put the two together. So she's now got little groups of people all over the country that she can go in and talk to and help them and get some clients. So that's just the way my mind works, But put the two things together that are apparently diametrically opposed, and all of a sudden they're a close fit, and she's now niched up. And you know what happens when you niche, Kirk?
Yep.
You can't go wrong. And one thing that's happened for her is that in life, once you know where you're going, you can't fail to get there. So all of a sudden now she's put the two things together, the karate and the self-development, and all of a sudden she's got a clear picture in her head now. I could see when I was talking to her that the brain was going mad with all these new ideas, and we even came up with the idea of using karate terms for defense as to when you're being defensive in life, and the karate terms for attack, so that she's going to do her talk all based around karate, but it will be self-development. So she's created a niche, and I just can't see her, failing. And the thing is as well, you see, most people, Kirk, when they start up in business, the biggest mistake they make is they take everything. They become all things to all people, and all of a sudden they cloud their message. As soon as you start niching, that means that people aren't under any illusion what you do. And the more niche you can get, the more it works. Because as you niche up, then things start falling off. Things that don't seem related tumble off and they become related, but it all comes back to what your core business is. Yeah. And so therefore, eventually, where you were doing bits of everything and all over the place, you've now got as much to do, but it's all related rather than a bit here and a bit there. And, I'm a bricklayer one day, and then I'll fit windows, and then I'll do this, and then I'll do that. So people don't know where you are.
Yeah, I think that's a valid point, Croz, because I've suffered with that myself, and I think a lot of people doing business, and you gave me some clarity a few weeks ago on some things, and I've I'm a this, I'm a that. So if I'm confused, I was confusing myself.
Yeah. So what message you putting out?
So if I'm confusing myself, I'm confusing everybody else. And I did a 40 seconds the other day. One of the guys in the room's known me for several years now. He went, "That was the best 40 seconds introduction I've ever heard you do, Kirk," because I'd sat down, thought about it, and what came out was like, "That's brilliant. I know what you're doing."
Yeah.
So that's cool.
And is that one thing that I was thinking of actually when you asked me to come on here, Kirk, and you mentioned about dyslexia, and I'd just like to say to anyone listening that has got dyslexia that reading and writing has got nothing to do with having a successful business. In fact, the thing is, it can hinder you. And that sounds strange, but the thing is, you can't get sidetracked by reading what's going on in the news and all the bits and pieces. And you tend to sort of have assets in other areas where you fine tune other things. I mean, I knew a guy that couldn't read and write, but you'd never know it because he used to phrase questions to such a way that the person answered him, I've left my glasses, or I've done this and I've done that. So it makes you very sort of clever and aware in other areas. So for anyone out there that is thinking of sort of going into business, don't think that, reading difficulties or whatever is any handicap at all. In fact, if anything, Uncle Croz tells you it's an advantage.
Because you've done this for quite some time now, I think, haven't you, Croz?
Yeah, over 20 years now. And I found all this information out, and I went absolutely skint when I was 43 years old. Yeah. As it broke. You do that, you'd have had to dig a hole 100 foot deep to be as low as I was. And I found these teachings in a book called The Science of Getting Rich, and I just followed them to the letter because it said that if you followed the teachings in the book, you couldn't fail. And I think possibly for the first time in my life, Kirk, I did exactly what I was told. Yeah. And and I found a lot of what I had been doing was right, but I didn't know how to control it. So I've spent the last 20 years now teaching people how to harness this energy that we all possess. And basically, it's just how you've been programmed in the past that stops you doing anything. It's nothing, it's nothing in the future that's going to stop you. Only what your past tells you might happen, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
so everything is based in the past. So what we do is, as you know, I run workshops, one workshops where I get into people's heads and I really play and get in there, and then we jiggle it about and we find out exactly what these limiting beliefs are, and then we just sort of replan it. We give everyone in the workshop creates their vision and understands why that's important and blah blah blah, and off we go. And we're getting some amazing successes, because at the end of the day, it's only what you think you can't do that stops you. And once you realise that if someone else is doing it, the odds are that you could be able to do it, then things change. But it's that belief in yourself. I mean, you're not going to be an Olympic swimmer if you don't go up the swimming baths and practice swimming. But basically, if you've got to be reasonable about it. But if you could see someone else doing what you'd like to do and you're physically fit to do it, there's no reason why you shouldn't. There's no reason on earth why you shouldn't be doing it. And some people are made out for self-employment and others aren't. But even if you're in employment, our workshops help you, because we talk about more than filling your space. Because so many people just turn up for work and they don't want to be there. So we talk about more than filling your space, which is actually making where you are where you want to be. Don't ever try and escape from a situation, if that makes sense. People run away. If you're unhappy in Warwickshire and you move to Surrey, you're still going to be unhappy. Running away doesn't change what's in your mind. So just make where you are happy. Make now where you want to be. And sometimes, just sometimes, you find out now ain't a bad place. And I mean, I worked with a bank manager in Philadelphia many years ago, and he wanted to leave the bank. He was only a bank teller, and he said he wanted to leave the bank. I said, well, you can't run away, Jack. I said, you've got to sort of make where you are where you want to be. Make where you are happy, more than fill your space, and then you can either get promoted within the bank because they're going to look at you and say, cool, he's a good employee, or someone else will see you and pick up on you and take you somewhere else. So that's called more than filling your space. And it becomes enjoyable, because all of a sudden you've got a reason why you're actually going to work. You're going there so that you can create the situation where you can either progress in the company or move somewhere else. So I told him to do this. And after about 3 months, he emailed me. He said, the manager's just called me in the office because all the people that are coming in for loans are asking to talk to me. They're telling their friends to come and see me. And he was asking me what I'm doing. So he asked me if I would actually tell the other members of staff what you've told me to make that. Anyway, to cut a very, very long story short, Kirk, he's now the area manager of Chase Manhattan Bank in Philadelphia.
Wow, just shows you
that. And enjoying his work.
Yeah, and you should enjoy. There's a saying that I picked up a while back, which was "Love it, change it, leave it." If you don't love it, change it. If you can't change it, leave it. And I think that's it's pretty true as well. And what you've said there about there's another chap that. Well, he's not with us anymore, Stephen Covey, but he talks about your circle of influence, about expanding your circle of influence, and that's a bit like what you're talking about. It's like being in your job to the point where you're not doing more, but people gravitate towards you, don't they, and see that you become this person or this.
Well, precisely. You see, the thing is, listen, most people, if you could imagine a square, most people want to fill a quarter of it, a little quadrant. Okay, that's their job, right? Then there's people that actually fill the square. Mm-hmm. Okay, and then there's people that actually try and burst out of the square. That's more than filling your space. That your enjoyment, you're vibrant, and you're actually trying to do more than what's expected of you. And you can never go unnoticed if you do that, right? Now, if you only do a little bit, you've got a chance of getting slingers. You're not doing the job right. If you fit exactly in the box, you won't go anywhere because you're the perfect employee. You're doing all that's expected of you. But if you more than fill your space, let's try and burst out of the box. You're more than filling your space, and there's no way known that either the people that you work for will notice you or someone else will, and you will advance. There's no way you can stand still if you more than fill your space. And it's enjoyable. That's the main thing, because you the reason for being.
Yeah, I think that's really cool. It's really, really good. And there's a name for them, isn't there? Intrapreneurs. We can't talk about entrepreneurs, but people within businesses, they call them intrapreneurs now, don't they? Or something. Somepreneurs, anyway. There's loads of preneurs about. They're everywhere, aren't they?
Yeah.
So that's really good. I just winging back a bit. You talked about a book that you read and that changed your path, and you actually listened to it. Did you do something with that book?
Yes, I've actually rewritten it in plain English because it was written in 1910. It's called The Science of Getting Rich, and I rewrote it, sticking faithfully to what was originally said, but just putting it so that you could sit down and read it, and it made sense because it was sort of wherewithals and art thous and all this sort of thing in it. It was old English. So, and anyone who's listening who'd like a copy of that, they can email me at worryfreeuk@gmail.com and just put SOGRIPE in the subject line, and I'll send them a free copy. And I've written I suppose about 30 or 40 page intro to it so that it gets you in the right mindset to actually understand what it's saying. So it's fantastic. But like anything, if it's like going to the gym and expecting the personal trainer to do the push-ups and you to get the muscles. Right? It don't happen.
Yeah.
If you just get the book and put it on the shelf along with the others, or use it to keep the door open, wedge the door open, it won't happen. But read it and take notice of what it says. But there's no substitute, and you'll know this, if you're at all interested in doing that, try and get some real input. And I do free Skype chats for people, just to, half an hour, just to sort of introduce them to those sort of teachings. So, because there's no substitute for what they call having faith in the messenger, right? So when someone tells you something, it's better than reading it, because you say, do I trust that person or whatever? And it brings clarity to the situation. Yeah. But anyone who wants that book, Kurt, they just tell them you put a message somewhere, wherever you do it on show, and I'll send them one off.
Yeah, I'll put it in the show notes, Croz, and I'll put some links to you and a link to some of the things you're doing as well. So that'll all be in there. Right. Because pardon?
I said that would be lovely.
No, it's great. But I'll because I'm coming on one of your courses anyway in December, because I'm really intrigued about what you're doing, and I think I'll get a lot of benefit from it, and I think it'll give me a bit more clarity. So I'm looking forward to that day as well. I think it's going to be an interesting day, and I know I'm going to come away with a lot
charged
more tools.
Up.
Yeah, that's the one.
Charged up. Basically, yeah, I like that. Tools. Listen, I can't change anyone's life, but I've changed thousands by giving people the tools to do it for themselves. And the thing is that with all this stuff, people get so confused. See, being able to quote something out of the, Napoleon Hill, or something out that you've read out of As a Man Thinketh, or a slick sound bite or whatever, they don't change your life. The only thing that changes your life is I have to flick the switch and let you know that you've got the ability, the belief and the power to do it for yourself. And once you take that on board, there's no stopping you. But so many people, they say, oh yeah, I do believe that, but they don't. It's having that faith and belief in yourself that actually flicks the switch. And once you do that, there's no holding it. So I'll tell you a little secret as well. You see, it's like why a lot of people don't don't get rich or have an issue with money is they've got what they call a scarcity mindset. And a lot of people might be able to identify with this, is that you've got a thermostat in your head of what you believe you can earn and what you can do. And a lot of people, I call it the 368 syndrome, because when it happened to me, I always had 368 quid in the bank. No matter what I did, whether I had a big bill in or whether I'd been on holiday, as soon as I got the statement in, it said 368 quid. I said, why the hell's that happening? Well, I found out why that's happening, because I was trying to scrimp and scrape. And the only way to really have a relationship with money is by just knowing that there's an abundance of money and just treating yourself. If you don't go out and have a lovely meal, you'll never ever create the money to go and have a lovely meal. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So what we do, and what my wife and I did then, every time we said, oh, let's go to South Africa, or let's do this or let's do that, we just used to buy the tickets and then worry about things later. But there would never ever seem to be a hole anywhere, because you tend to create the money to fit what you're going to do with it. And scrimping and scraping ain't the way. Treating yourself so that you're spending money, you tend to sort of create it again. It's just unbelievable. Anyone who's got a mortgage, the first couple of months you think, oh, how am I going to do this? How am I going to pay that? Or anyone who's got renting somewhere or doing something in business, for the first month or so, then once you get used to it, guess what? You forget about it and the money somehow comes in and then something else. But it's only when you start putting this barrier up and worrying about money that you start stopping it flowing. But listen, if you go out, I was talking to a young lady the other day that I'm doing some work with, and she said, I was out the other night and we're having it a bit hard at the moment, but my kids always getting ragged at school about the coat, the winter coat or ever the clothes. She said, I was just sitting there and I just saw this coat. It was so beautiful that I couldn't really afford it, but I went and bought it. And I said, how did you feel about it? She said, lovely. I said, well, that's what it's all about. And I'll tell you something, you won't notice that money. When you come and do your adding up at the end of the month, you won't even notice that. So it's strange. I don't know how it works, Kirk, but listen, free yourself up. If you've got a scarcity mindset, no one ever got rich saving. No one ever got rich being thrifty, because you're going to need a load of magazines with coupons in, aren't you, to go and get hold of any money.
Yeah, I think you're right. It's a good way to think about it, because you're right. If you're scared about what you've got in your pocket or you're not going to invest any time in anything. You're not going to experience things, which opens your mind to other things as well, is it? So, and we're only here once, so enjoy it.
Precisely. But listen, let me say something. Every time you've really needed money, if you've needed something to buy a bit of equipment, or wanted a motorbike or whatever, right? When you first have the thought, you think, oh God, how am I going to do that? Have you ever not got the money?
No.
Where does it come from? Because you haven't got it when you look at it, have you? You wonder where it's going to come from, but as soon as you put that desire onto it, the money comes.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, you don't know where it comes from. It just because you're creating the need. If you don't create the need, then you're just 368 quid for the rest of your life, like I did.
You should have a T-shirt with 368 quid, 368 on it.
Yeah. So at the end of the day, it was true. I couldn't work out what was going on. It didn't matter what I did. If I didn't spend, I had 368 quid. And if I went and splashed out on a big bill and bought clothes, I still had 368 quid. Because my thermostat was set at 368 quid. And your poverty mindset, every time you go and think about money, you download all those things that are restricting you. So immediately you sort of wipe the hard drive, put a new program in that says, if I want a nice new shirt, I ain't having the bunky one from up the road, I'm going to have the one I want. Buy it, and all of a sudden you won't miss it. The thing is, you've got nicer things happening. Your bank account doesn't know that you're restricting it, so that sort of starts building up, and listen, I don't know how this stuff works, but I just know it does. And I've helped so many people, thousands of people over the years, all over the world, and it don't change. The only thing that changes is people think I'm an idiot and they don't listen. They sort of hang about where they were when they started. But everyone who listens, they turn around and they go, how long's all this been happening? And they're having a better life because, look, when you're happy, you don't restrict yourself. When you're happy, you're at peace with yourself, right? So if you're aiming to be successful and your success is based on money, right, then you can never find happiness because you'll never ever have enough money because you don't know. There's no limit on that. It's a pile of money. Success. Phil Green sitting on a boat, right, bobbing about in the Mediterranean. His missus one end and him the other. Not a living person near him who's a friend. Only a bit of staff. So that's a good way to end up, isn't it? By like being horrible and terrible to people. But if you're happy, your success and wealth will find their balance. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Because if you're happy, you know that you want to go do something, then don't ever make your visions about money. Always make them about what you would do with the money. So all of a sudden your success and wealth sort themselves out. But it never comes that you're successful and then you become happy. It never becomes that you're rich and you become happy. If you want to be happy, you've got to start with happy.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
So when you're saying, what I want in the future, don't put mythical things in of what you think's happiness, because I tell you something, I've met a few billionaires in my life and I ain't never met an happy one. Right? They might be eating big, like, lovely bowls of caviar and all the other bits and pieces, but it's all crap at the end of the day. It don't count for anything, doing all that in your life. What you've got to do what you want to do. What makes you happy, make that your vision. And I tell you what, the success and wealth, the same as the 368, once you go for something, you'll find it. There will be a way to get it as soon as you know where you're going. But most people are walking around with their heads chopped off like a chicken that's just running around, ain't got a clue where they're going. Immediately you've got direction, like that young lady. She was 52, but young to me. But as soon as she had direction today, I could see the wheel spin in her head. She will be very successful now because she's happy and she knows where she's going. Basically, I'll tell you a little secret, Kurt. I shouldn't really be saying this because I annoy a lot of people when I do it. See, this is so simple. Find out where you are, right? Find out where you want to go. And once you're clear on those two things and you've got faith and belief in getting to where you want to go, guess what? That's it. There's a few things, a few little tweaks that you have to do, but that's it. But everyone tries to make it so complicated. And I've spent 20 years debunking all the things like tapping your head and all these different things. That's only to get you focused. Well, why don't you say to people, focus?
Yeah.
Right? Easy, isn't it? But that's it. It's simple. And the thing is, the hardest thing you've got to do is having faith and belief in yourself. But the actual nuts and bolts of what you've got to do is simple. And I struggle need 2 A4 paper, and I'd have to put a few pictures in and all to fill out the space, right? And yet, if you took everything ever written on self-development and positive thinking and all the other bits and pieces and paradigm shifts and all the other rubbish that they talk about, it would cover the face of the earth 6 books deep. So there's plenty been written about it, but everyone tries to make it difficult. And Uncle Croz keeps upsetting them because he says it ain't difficult. It's just a case of you changing, and you have faith and belief in the messenger, right? You've heard me talk about the play area. I live in the play area. I annoy the crap out of my wife because I just won't waste any bait. She says, don't you ever worry. I said, of course I do. But I used to have bad days. Now I have bad moments.
Yeah.
Right? Because there's another little one for your things. I wasn't going to get this deep for them, but I tell you what, anyone out there's got any problems, right? This is how simple it is, right? 2 questions you ask yourself, right? You've got something that's happening, what you think's going to happen, it's driving you mad, you've got all this worry in your head, it's going round and round your head. Just sit down for a minute, nice and quietly, and say, have I done everything I can to solve that situation? Yes. Is there anything else I can do? No. Then forget about it. Because if there's nothing you can do and you've done everything you can, you ain't going to change the outcome. And you know what? 90% of the time it don't happen. So you're going to spend all that time worrying and stressing, right, about something that ain't going to happen. So if you've done everything you can and there's nothing else you can do, just ask those two questions. And if you answer yes and no, forget about it. And I'll tell you what, 90% of the time it won't happen, Kurt.
Brilliant. Croz, I'm going to cut this bit down now because we're at the show's half an hour, so we're on half an hour now. But it's been great to talk to you, and I think we'll probably end up carrying on chatting and make a second show from what you've talked about, if that's okay.
All right, no problem.
All right. Well, but thanks for being on the show today. That's absolutely brilliant.
You're more than welcome.
Run your own business. Are you sat there, aggressively waiting for the phone to ring? Come on, phone, ring! Ring! You need 4 networking.
Smile, me, chat, join for networking.
At every 4 networking meeting, you get 3 real business appointments guaranteed. There are hundreds of 4 networking groups right across the UK. To book a meeting near you, go to 4networking.biz.
Smile, me, chat, join for networking.
Well, that's the end of another show. Yeah, it's pretty cool, Croz. You've got to check him out. I'll put all the links in my show notes. That was a change to the scheduled show. I won't go into that too much. All I'll say is back your data up on your phone. And I'll be bringing shortly in the next couple of shows the planned one, which was Claire Russell. And I've got an interesting lady on. She goes by the name of The Sex Alchemist. About business. It's about business, it's not about sex. Anyway, until next time, I've been Dougie Stone. You've been amazing. See you soon.